So tell me about the movie Hoop Dreams. I know it's kind of popular, but I personally have never seen it, so I need
That's
to
all
get
right.
filled. I need some backup information on this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Interesting enough, Hoop Dreams was celebrating 30 years since the movie came out in
Wow.
1994. And what started out as being two kids from the inner city of Chicago, and I'm using the word inner city, that lets you know how long ago it's been because we say urban now. But it was two kids from the inner city of Chicago with a dream to play professional basketball. And along the way, you discover the hardships, the ups, the downs, the ins and outs of how tough it really is to make it. But what was also discovered in it is how families pull together, how families support one another, and that ultimately, and this is just my personal take on it, how to survive if the dream doesn't happen, because there's a lot more of us on the other side of it than those that actually make it, because we know that window is very small.
What is the main factor that inhibits the main characters from making it to the professional level?
I think that's the essence of this movie, because it's really kind of hard to determine that. Like some would say, if when they're watching my story, they'll say, "Well, Will, it was your need that prohibited you." But we really don't know. It could have been other factors. For my counterpart, Arthur Agee, they say, well, there were outlying issues, whether it was at home or whether he struggled academically that prohibit him from achieving his ultimate dream. But I think what makes Hoop Dreams such a great movie is because those that watch it, depending on where you're at in life, you can find yourself at some point, because the movie relates more than just basketball. It's life in essence
Mhm.
too. So wherever you're at in life, you can find yourself at some particular point and say, like, yeah, it may not be the sport, but this is where I'm at in life and this is how I have to deal with it. So I think Hoop Dreams offer that. So it's hard to really depict, what's the one thing that stopped us from making it.
So Hoop Dreams is your story, right?
Hoop Dreams is my story. It is, as a matter of fact, Hoop Dreams has we recently found out, it has become uh, actually a national treasure. It's in the Museum of Archives. It has become they say it. I'm just agreeing with them, but the best documentary to ever be made. And again, I'm so amazed by it, because here we are celebrating 30 years. It's been 30 years since the documentary movie was made, and was still being honored for the movie even to this very day.
Even though you didn't make it at the time to where you thought you should have been or could have been, are you still pleased with where you are in your life now?
I can say this. It took me a minute, because again, that's what I love about the movie so much, because it's real life. It took me a minute to accept the fact that I wasn't going to make it. And again, I think this is like with anybody. It's like, you go to college, you work hard, and then you find yourself trying to put the puzzles of life together. And you're
Yeah.
like, man, I thought this puzzle was supposed to fit in here. And so there were years I was trying to force the dream to happen, but injuries after injuries after injuries. And then you just get to the point where you say, you know what? I think I might have to find a new dream to hold on to. So, but to answer your question, am I happy where I'm at in life? Absolutely. I've been married to my wife for over 30 years. We have four amazing kids. As a matter of fact, one is attending in your area, Houston Christian University.
Oh,
So,
sweet.
so I do get up to Houston quite a few times a year to watch them play. So I am. I'm like I say, it's been great from this standpoint that I used to hear my brother say this all the time: don't let the game use you, use the game. And I had to figure out how to use the game.
All basketball players in the family, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Except for
Okay.
my daughter, who's actually in the movie at the time. Uh, she went to volleyball. That was her thing. She did volleyball, and now she's married. Military husband. So
Mhm.
she's wherever he goes, she goes. And But I have three boys, and they actually they all attended Houston Christian University, and they all played
Wow.
ball there. So they created their own little legacy outside of dad's legacy.
Amazing. So, what do you have to say for those who are told growing up, just work hard, just put in the hours, and you'll be successful? It sounds great. That's something that parents tell their kids, teachers tell kids all the time, but that is not always necessarily the case. What is your take on that? And the harder you work doesn't always get you further.
You know what I like to tell kids for that, because I agree with you that that isn't the case. Actually, that's more of not the case.
Yeah.
But what I tell, and I share this with my boys all the time. It's the journey, because the reality is it's always you have to be ready. You don't know when the moment is going to come. So, but if you're ready and the moment shows up, you can run and you can grab it. So my take on it is chase the dream until
Mhm.
it doesn't work. And then if it doesn't work, then you chase a new dream. But you can't stop working hard, because our lives are built on hard work. Our lives are built with consistency. Again, to me, I think sports and life really resemble one another.
Yeah.
You you can't be great unless you put the hard work in. And sometimes you got to find fulfillment in that too. I think that's a piece of it. It's like, you know, you're working hard in the classroom and you didn't do so well. But once you get it, and man, you get that grade you desired, all of a sudden that hard work doesn't look as terrible as you thought it was. You all of a sudden you
Yeah.
find a sense of pride in yourself. You find a sense of hope in yourself, because what it does is it builds you to say to yourself, I can do something else. Maybe this just wasn't for me, but I can build on something else. So, but yeah, I've heard that question so many times, and I agree. I think it's it's unfortunate, because you hear that you work hard, you put in the time, you're going to get the dream. Yes and no. You get the dream. It might not be that dream, but you will find your value. And I think that's what's incredible. You find how strong of a person you really are.
And I have that athletic mindset too. I was a soccer player growing up. I spent 1 year of college soccer and then some injuries and academic injuries as
Yes,
well.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
had to I
We
had
all been
to
there.
I had to let it go. And then I moved to Mississippi State and just focused on my
Ah,
yeah.
nice,
Got any
nice.
connections out there?
Actually, I got family in Mississippi State, but we used to play you guys all the time. I went to Marquette University, so
Okay.
we used to play you guys all the time.
Sweet, sweet. Probably a couple years before I got there.
Yes, yes, just a few years. I try to tell people. People say, "Well, Will, when did you play at Marquette?" I always tell people, I played there after Glenn Doc Rivers, who coaches the Milwaukee Bucks, and then I say, and before Dwayne Wade. So I said I'm in the middle of those two guys.
Mm,
So
wow.
that puts me there in the '90s. So the book is called Hoop Dreams, the fifth quarter, and what it does is it just talks about the before, during, and the after life of the movie itself. But I also deal with issues of, like, for example, I had a daughter when I was in high school. So
Wow.
I have a chapter in there that talks about, you know, a baby, a boy, a ball, and a baby, and talk about how the reality it was tough trying to be a dad, trying to play ball, trying to be a student, you know. I have a section in there where I talk about my brother Curtis, who also played basketball, and how he put a lot of his dreams in me, and how I felt that pressure. So it talks about, we didn't know it back then, but it talks about how now it's commonplace to talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
So it's really a book where it's sharing with people that if there's some things that's troubling your heart and troubling your mind, you need to share those before it gets too late. And because
Yeah.
to me, life is like, you know, it can go, things can compound on you so much. And if you don't deal with it, at some point you're going to explode. So it helps with that. But I also try to tell people this too. It's a basketball book too. it's about basketball. So there's stories in there about me playing with Michael Jordan. There's stories in there with me playing with a lot of other NBA players. So, but it has all of those elements. But I call it the fifth quarter because it's really like, hey, once that window, that basketball window, or whatever that sports window is over with, now what are you going to do? I
Yeah.
may not be playing as much or playing at all, but what I do is I still coach kids. I still train kids because I want them to. I just think if you gain some knowledge, you should be able to share it with the next generation because that's how things continue to evolve. So I stay busy in the basketball field. As a matter of fact, my counterpart who was in the movie with me, Arthur Agee, we actually started a podcast called the Hoop Dreams Podcast, and we just love telling origin stories of folks who have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, we had Terry Crews on the show. We've had Juwan Howard on the show. So we just love hearing how these guys started their story. Again,
Yeah.
we're listening to Terry Crews, and he's just talking about, I grew up in Detroit. He's like, I didn't think I'd be doing, you know, you know, all of these shows. And he was talking about how his first movies he was in that he didn't even make any money. Like people don't know this stuff and they
Yeah.
just think that you work hard and you get instant
Yeah.
success.
No one,
But
no one
no,
talks about the
there's
failures. It's
yes,
so
yes.
many.
So the show does that. It just talks about people origin stories and how they made it and how they had to fight through it to get
Mhm.
where they are in life.
Yeah. And whenever you were going through that stuff in high school again with the ball, the baby, I love that part. You probably felt so alone, but you telling that story, you connected to probably so many people who are going through that same thing and really help them out. I can just think of a few people just that are in close relationship to me that would have taken that and just ran with any type of advice they could have found in that moment. So I think you found your voice. I think you're helping others to find their voice, their value, their placement in this world. And I'm looking forward to reading this book as well. It's right around the corner, summertime, and what I'd love to do is go to work, hit the gym, grab a book, and just go sit by the pool for the rest of the day. So this
That
will
sounds
be
like
on my
my life.
yeah, this will be on my summer reading list.
Thank
Indeed.
you.
But
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
looking forward to it. Anything else that you want to add? There's a million different avenues I could take with this, but I'll just let you have the floor.
It opened the world up to the African American community, but it also what it did was it opened up the basketball community to other parts of the world. I was talking to a guy, Jamal Crawford, and he was saying, Will, until I saw y'all movie, I didn't know how guys play basketball in Chicago. He said we didn't get that stuff. He said there was no social media back then. So Hoop Dreams was really almost kind of like the first social media
Wow.
kind of movie in the early 90s. Twitter was just beginning. There was no Instagram. There was no, Facebook was kind of like college
That's
only.
true.
So it opened up the window for guys to also see how other guys were competing and playing around the world. So I'm very proud that we have contributed um, at least some aspect uh, to make a better society.
Yeah, just that bro camaraderie.
Yes, 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 yes. But also let people know they can get the book
Yes.
on Amazon.com, or they can come to my website. If they come to my website, you get an autographed copy, which is hd-22.com. So,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Hit us up next time you're in Houston.
oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's funny that you say that because, interesting enough, Houston Christian University isn't that far from you guys.
No,
I
not at
was
all.
I was going to Nectar to get some my juice run, and I said, "Oh, that's the CW station right there." So I actually know where you guys are at. It's
Sweet,
interesting.
sweet.